No documents are known, and we don't know whether they will be ever found or not. But there is, of course, every reason for Russia to fund Zuma and his party. What is its interest? Of course, they are ideologically very close, and of course, Zuma is an old comrade of Putin, and they met very often. And during Zuma's presidency, that South Africa, with the Russian help and Russian support, joined.
So, in this really interesting interview on BizNews, Russian historian Irina Filatova is actually giving some insight into the connections between Zuma and Russia and how a failed nuclear deal while Zuma was president might actually be a springboard to understanding the relationship between Jacob Zuma and Russia. Let's listen to this powerful video, and I'll be back for some really interesting analysis on a book about the nuclear deal that Jacob Zuma actually attempted to sign with Russia and how that might have influenced Russia's support for the MK party in Kontowesi's way.
And it is surprising for a new party to be so organized and to have so much money. From my friends in Natal, I heard that Zuma's party election officials, officers, were driving around in absolutely wonderful, expensive cars, and that they drove around to the smallest villages, that there were a lot of these cars, and that they drove to smallest villages where not the ANC and not the DA and no any other party reached. That their posters were everywhere in KZN, and that they were very, very visible. So this is a kind of a persistent topic, and the interesting thing is that the MKP never declared where the money is coming from. We all know that a party which has got more than 100 million donations, donations which amount to more than 100 million, had to declare them. Now, Zuma and his comrades never declared anything. And IEC was asked about these donations and whether they have investigated them. And they said, no, we can't investigate because there were no complaints. And I don't know whether such complaints could follow or not. But one thing is quite clear, is that no paper trail has been found, and everybody was so busy with the elections that nobody even tried to find this paper trail of this money. No documents are known, and we don't know whether they will be ever found or not. But there is, of course, every reason for Russia to fund Zuma and his party. What are the what is its interest? Of course, they are ideologically very close, and of course, Zuma is an old comrade of Putin, and they met very often. And during Zuma's presidency, that South Africa, with the Russian help and Russian support, joined BRICS. And it is also true that it was under Zuma that an attempt was made to sign a nuclear deal with Russia, which would be a very beneficial thing for Russia, and I will return to it in a moment. And since then, with Zuma in power and not in power, and after he was demoted, and even after he left the ANC, there's no doubt that people who are close to him, if you think about Duduzile, Sambudla Zuma, if you think about his close comrades, they all announced, declared on social media, in their posters, on their T-shirts during the campaign, announced their allegiance to Russia. Zuma's campaign even used the T-shirts where Zuma was standing next to Putin and they were shaking hands. I don't know whether you have seen that or not, but this T-shirt and people in it were all over the social media. So why would Russia be interested now that Zuma is not in power and he is very old, just out of old loyalty? I do not think so. I think that there was a direct interest. First of all, about this nuclear deal. You see, people who discuss it, and I must declare immediately that I understand nothing in nuclear power and nuclear plants and so on. I'm told by specialists that the model that Russians use for such nuclear plants, it's very advanced and it doesn't, no parallels exist anywhere in the West, and they are very good, very reliable, safe, etc. So people are quoting the costs, and the cost purportedly for South Africa would be about 1 trillion rands. But you know what is interesting to me in this connection is not even the cost, because the conditions of Russia's deal with any country, and it has been building these nuclear powers all over Africa now. It has been building them now. It has an agreements with Zimbabwe, Mali, Burkina Faso, and many countries in Asia, global south. This is what Russia is now interested in and where it is vying and fighting for influence.
Brilliant interview. But to begin understanding this, we have to go back to early August 2022 when US Secretary of State Antony Blinken commenced a three-nation tour of Africa, starting in South Africa as part of a new US strategy towards sub-Saharan Africa. This visit preceded the US Africa Leaders Summit, scheduled for December in Washington that same year, which marked only the second occurrence of the summit, the first having been held in 2014 under President Barack Obama. Blinken's visit aimed to recalibrate US Africa relations and counterbalance the influence of Russia, China, and other nations in Africa. Additionally, it was viewed as part of the broader geopolitical struggle between the West and Russia for African support regarding the war in Ukraine. South Africa's professed neutral stance is widely perceived as pro-Russia, as is illustrated by a March tweet from Russia's embassy in South Africa, which expressed gratitude to South Africans for their solidarity with Russia's campaign against Nazism in Ukraine. According to News 24, South Africa's reputation as a neutral party was compromised when it attempted to introduce a resolution at the United Nations that omitted any reference to Russia. Several factors explain South Africa's pro-Russia stand, including proposed investment deals. Notably, the proposed 7 billion rand gas plant in Nelson Mandela Bay, a manganese mine in Kalahari, and an innovative iron processing plant in Limpopo all involve Russian investment. Speculation suggests that the deals with Rosgeo and Gazprom Bank were made to compensate for a stalled nuclear agreement. While these deals partially explain South Africa's pro-Kremlin position, it is believed that there may be additional undisclosed agreements or connections. A recent book by Karen Morgan and Kirsten Pearson, titled Nuclear: Inside South Africa's Secret Deal, delves into the history, implications, and current status of the referenced nuclear deal, in which former President Jacob Zuma sought to commit South Africa to a multi-trillion rand agreement with Russia. A revealing end to the book illustrates the moment when the then president lost hold on power at the ANC's 2017 National Elective Conference as the party elected Cyril Ramaphosa as its new president. This event is described through a strategically captured video by a journalist named Nicholas Bauer. When Ramaphosa's victory over Nkosazana Dlamini and Zuma was announced, Bauer zoomed in on Zuma's face with his phone camera. In this iconic video, Zuma's expression is stony, but his breath is noticeably rapid and shallow. And after Bauer tweeted the video, another account encapsulated its content with a single word: panic. The inferred reason for Zuma's panic is the loss of power, which meant he could no longer push through the nuclear deal with Russia. According to the book's authors, Zuma's final documented meeting with Putin referenced this failure. This meeting occurred on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in China in 2017, when Putin expressed disappointment about the downward trend in bilateral trade between Russia and South Africa. Putin was recorded telling Zuma, "I am pleased to have the chance to discuss these matters with you." Zuma responded in what the authors described as an enigmatic manner, stating, "There has been a situation globally that interfered with the flow of our relations." And he added, "I think the time has come that we pick up also and do more in the relationships in terms of what we do together." Zuma apparently believed that if South Africa were unable to repay the debt to Russia, Putin would be lenient. He speculated they would not come for us. They understand we would have an agreement to work out another arrangement. We know they are trusted people. Now, another review in the Daily Maverick notes that there has never been a better time to probe the hold that President Putin has over the ANC. Another reviewer, Rebecca Davis, further observed that this influence has become increasingly evident, especially in light of South Africa's response to the current war in Ukraine, with Pretoria's official stance being a refusal to condemn Russian aggression. While the more common justification is that the former USSR supported the ANC in the anti apartheid struggle, many suspect that there is much more to the bilateral ties than this. According to author Karen Morgan, it is useful to revisit events from 2014. In that year, former President Jacob Zuma later claimed he nearly died from poisoning and credited Russian doctors in Moscow with saving his life. Zuma subsequently asserted that he was the target of an assassination attempt by Western powers and that his friendship with Russia and Putin had spared him. Morgan believes this incident set the stage for subsequent events. She notes Zuma signs off on the Rosatom nuclear deal with Russia 17 days after his urgent trip to Russia for life-saving treatment. Following this, an increasingly desperate desire from the Zuma administration to formalize this geopolitical alliance with Russia became evident. Nuclear, the book, clearly posits that Zuma likely promised Putin he would commit South Africa to a financially crippling nuclear deal with Russia, prompting the question of why he did so. Morgan and Pearson, authors of the book, suggest an additional motive, which is that Zuma believes that his fourth wife, Nompemelulo Untuli Zuma, had attempted to poison him on behalf of a US intelligence group. Morgan and Pearson provide riveting new material, particularly concerning Tina Joemat-Patterson, who, as Zuma's Minister of Energy, signed an unlawful nuclear agreement with Russia. Joemat-Patterson stated, "I know people think that I'm a Zuma loyalist who was pushing for a nuclear deal, but I was not for sale and I would never sell my country." One of the most peculiar claims is that Zuma has long believed shadowy Western forces are determined to eliminate him, and that the former South African president remains convinced that Russia is one of the few states he can fully trust. The authors of the book also suggest that Zuma's conspiracy theories cannot and should not simply be dismissed as rantings of an ousted leader who has used his own paranoia as ammunition against his enemies. These dark suspicions have played a pivotal role in shaping the South African government's geopolitical decision making. So, anyway, this is a really compelling research. I actually muddled through some reports on the internet to really understand a little bit deeper into this whole issue with Jacob Zuma's relationship with Russia and how probably that could actually end up, as a phenomenon in South Africa. But anyway, what do you guys think about the historian's speech here and also the research? Share your thoughts in the comments.